The frontier. No other image better represents Gibraltar's relationship with Spain, with Europe.
And the gates are open. An historic moment in the history of Gibraltar.
It seems another big moment is coming. Despite the difficulties, the negotiating parties still say agreement is possible and getting closer.
Excruciatingly close now.
So what might we expect at the frontier if a treaty is agreed? The New Year's Eve agreement said that the port and airport would be the controlled entry points, with Gibraltar and Schengen checks there. GBC understands that there would be no controls on the movement of people in and out of Gibraltar at the frontier, no checks and no physical barriers. We thought we'd use a drone to show you the full extent of the frontier fence and have a think about what changes there may mean. Let's look at the fence, starting at the most northwest part of Gibraltar, which is an MOD estate. Forces personnel live here, and as a military estate, it has its own fencing. Just to the north of the MOD perimeter, there's a second fence, then a gap to allow for repairs, and then 2 tiers of fence on the Spanish side. The New Year's Eve framework talked about the removal of physical barriers, but the MOD estate itself would remain fenced off. Next is what most of us simply call the frontier. If there are no controls on the movement of people, we'd expect this to look a little less cluttered, though it's not clear what infrastructure law enforcement officers would still need. All Schengen countries need to be able to close their borders in extreme circumstances, such as a terrorist attack. Next are the customs areas. Gibraltar imports all its goods, so this is a busy place. There's a holding area on the Spanish side and a holding area on the Gibraltar side. A treaty would change how the mobility of goods is done. The EU would want to have reliable statistics for imports into Gibraltar, and HM Customs Gibraltar would have to levy import duties for those goods. While what happens in these customs areas could change, they would still be needed, and you'd expect customs areas to remain safe with fencing. Next is the Gibraltar airport. If there's a treaty, this area would need to accommodate Schengen checks. The Córdoba Agreement envisioned a small extension to the Gibraltar airport onto the Spanish side in order for Spanish officials to carry out their Schengen checks. We don't know exactly how a Gibraltar treaty will deal with this, but it could be similar. A Schengen shack connected to the airport on the north, but on the Spanish side, where Spanish officers would carry out Schengen checks. It's possible that an extension to the airport may be needed. We've heard how an air passenger would enter this extension, dubbed a Schengen shack, from the current Gibraltar airport.
There is going to be a building that will straddle by a few meters so that our people enter through the Gibraltar door.
Part of the Schengen shack would be in Gibraltar, the other part in Spain. GBC sources close to the negotiation say that the passenger would remain on the Gibraltar side for the Schengen checks.
If it is, as I understand it, I don't think anybody in Gibraltar could possibly be concerned or worried or object.
East of the airport and of the customs area is a triangle of land used by Toyota Gibraltar stockholdings. The area does fill up with white 4x4s, so we expect it will remain fenced off. Further east, the operations centre for the Kingsway Tunnel, a government area but not a public-facing office, and GBC sources suggest it would remain sealed off. On the far east is a fuel farm, a specialised facility for storing, managing and distributing fuel for the airport. As MOD land, this too would remain fenced off. Following conversations with sources close to the negotiations, our report suggests that the removal of physical barriers at the frontier can only go so far. Installations almost exclusively on the Gibraltar side would continue to need protection. The MOD estate, the customs area, the private car parking area, the control centre for the underpass and the fuel farm. We're left with changes to the airport, which would see additional infrastructure, and changes to the frontier crossing, which looks set to be the only place where we'd expect to see a decluttering to allow people to cross more easily. But for many, the frontier fence is a proxy for security, a first line of defense, keeping unwanted intruders out.
No sé si hay más robos aquí o allí o lo que sea, pero absolutamente segura.
The fence makes us feel safer. Metal, razor wire, and then more metal. It looks secure, but we're told that smugglers cut through it regularly and that repairs to this fence need to be made all the time. And that's because there's a difference in the price of goods in Gibraltar and in Spain. And where there's a difference in the price of goods, there will be smuggling. And that's true in Gibraltar and the world over. While people make it across the fence at the moment, Gibraltar has over many centuries been a secure fortress. And busy traffic days remind us that Gibraltar is a natural funnel at the north, at Kingsway and at the runway. The government has repeatedly said Gibraltar's solid as the rock reputation, earned through wars and sieges, would not be sacrificed.
Nothing that we might agree to with the European Union will lead to the erosion of any concept of safety in Gibraltar in any context whatsoever.
In May last year, a GBC poll found the narrowest majority, 51%, would find the removal of border controls very acceptable or acceptable. But it was and remains a divisive issue, with concerns about security.
The removal of a frontier fence will need to be judged against whether we're getting the prize of mobility, freedom of movement.
So what about petty crime, theft, burglary? Is this what more people are worried about? That Safe Gibraltar could feel less safe? The Chief Minister says Gibraltar and the UK would not agree to a deal that makes it easier for criminals to enter Gibraltar.
We think everything we might agree and anything that we might do in consequence of what we might agree will actually make Gibraltar safer.
We can expect an increase in surveillance at the frontier through increased law enforcement presence and technology. In oral evidence to the UK Parliament, the Chief Minister has emphasised the role of technology, such as automatic number plate recognition and facial recognition, in monitoring vehicles and people entering and leaving Gibraltar. Fabian Picardo said these systems allow for continuous checks. You don't need to stop for them. They would not cause delays. Outgoing Police Commissioner Richard Alger said the RGP will focus on genuine policing and security tasks, ensuring any changes as a result of a treaty do not compromise Gibraltar's safety.
It will be a robust footprint to be able to monitor people coming in and out of Gibraltar. Artificial intelligence is the way forward, and that's the way we want to be able to police that area if there is an open border.
Furthermore, the RGP has highlighted the importance of cross-border cooperation in maintaining security, and those partnerships should benefit if there's a treaty. We're reporting on what possible changes could look like at the frontier if there's a treaty.
There's a real opportunity here that I hope all parties will take.
The alternative is no deal and a hard border, with significant delays for goods and people, something that 78% of poll respondents told GBC they are concerned or very concerned about. As always, the government will have to balance security needs with the importance of maintaining fluidity at the frontier. As we edge closer to a deal, GBC has tried to shed light on the possible bringing down of the frontier fence. It's a complex situation. A treaty would be a lengthy legal document, and everyone agrees the devil will be in the detail.